everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sport Federation TV, the show that brings you all the news from all the sports federations in all of the Western Cape. We've got three amazing sports joining us this week, and later on in the show you're going to get an opportunity yet again to win a case of Cape Town's favorite cool drink. That's another case of assorted Bashers drinks, so keep your cell phone ready for that announcement. In today's lineup, we've got sailing, tug of war, and golf. And joining me first from Western Province Golf is Robert Larson and Tony Bailey. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on Sports Federation TV, and I'm excited to be interviewing golf because this is my first time getting exposure to your world. Tell us about golf in the Western Cape. How is it structured?
Well, it's structured, at this stage we've got two different groups as such. We've got women's golf and we've got men's golf. We have this year amalgamated for the first year. We are about 15,000 golfers, registered golfers in the Western Province. Obviously throughout the country there's different provinces, but in Western Cape, Western Province, we're about 15,000 total men and women.
Wow.
Through all age groups.
So Western Province currently, which areas would that encompass?
Well, Western Province our borders will go from Erenvale, Somerset West, Strand, down as far as Melkbos to Atlantic Beach, up to Clovelly, Fishhook, Simonstown area.
So it's quite a large catchment area.
Yes.
And in the greater Western Cape, are we seeing quite as impressive numbers as well?
The Western Cape will be Boland, you mean, and Southern Cape. That goes as far as George, Knysna, up as far as there. And then Boland is actually a lot more stretched out, going up from Longabaan to Wellington, Worcester, up into, where would it be, Arabella, Hermanus. So they're quite stretched.
And such beautiful areas as well. I mean, just as the Western Province region, I'm sure they boast some amazing facilities as well. Is the sport equally as popular there?
I'd say so. We are at the bottom end of South Africa as such, so it's difficult for us to travel. We have to fly basically everywhere if we want to go up country. So in the Western Cape, we try and play as many of the courses as we can. Whether you're in Boland region or Southern Cape, we tend to find the guys travel around a lot to play in all the tournaments.
Now, Tony, he's given us a picture of the catchment area for all your players. How exactly is your league structured? How do you arrive at your top players over the season?
Well, basically we've got a couple different leagues. We've got for your scratch golfers, which are your better golfers. That league takes place on a Sunday. It's called Premier League. Along with that comes your first and second and third challenge leagues. They take place on a Saturday afternoon. And then we do have other leagues for your high handicap golfers who also want to play competitive golf against the other clubs within the union. And that league is called Harry Solomon.
And how does your grading system work? How do you arrive at the top provincial players?
So basically we have a Premier Amateur Tour that we take place in. So we hold opens at every golf course in Western Province, so from Westlake to Clovelly, and we run that order of merit over a yearly period. And then we have a ranking that we accumulate from those tournaments, 36 holes, and from those tournaments we accumulate a order of merit, and we pick obviously certain criterias off those order of merits, and then we arise at our Premier IPT side.
Okay.
So you also have age groups. I mean, you've got to try and compete like with like, so to speak. Not to say that if you're older you can't play in a younger environment, but we have, as Rob says, you've got a junior or premier category, which is a specific age group as such, and then you move into a mid-amateur, which is 30 to 49, and then seniors and super seniors, which is over 50 upwards. Obviously the youngsters in the Premier are a lot more fitter and can play for a longer period or walking as opposed to, say, a 60-year-old. And in each age group you'll have order of merits where you rank your players and then select them for provincial sides.
And now you've mentioned earlier that women's golf is growing, and do the women also compete in the same category?
Not in this category, but the same sort of format. They also have their interprovincial tournaments and likes. They have team events where they travel away to different provinces to play in their team events, but based very much on the same. They have leagues and club tournaments that they host for their players.
Would you say this is a relatively expensive sport to participate in?
It is an expensive sport. There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't say it's the most expensive sport. I think all sports, when you come to getting equipment, whether you're cycling or yachting or anything like that, there's an initial outlay. It depends on how much you want to progress on from that, and how fussy you are to your equipment. If you want to keep upgrading, it's going to be expensive. You know, there are lots of advantages to joining a golf club. There's better rates as a member of a golf club as opposed to a person who's just walking in off the streets, and that's why we try to encourage membership to grow. We found over the years that membership's been dropping, but we're trying to encourage the public to join a golf club. There's social events. You can bring your family there, you can bring your children there, they can practice, hopefully get them to start playing the game. That's where, well, basically we rely on that, don't we? We rely on the youngsters coming up and growing, learning the game and playing it through their life.
No, absolutely.
You know, everyone's getting older, so it's getting kind of top heavy at the old end.
Yeah, well, I guess so, because historically the sport is associated with certain demographics and certain income groups, but that's been changing recently. Hey,
we definitely are trying to change it. You know, we're constantly looking. I'm not saying we've got it right by any stretch of the imagination. We are constantly looking at it, of what we can do. We're trying to set up a new program called an associate membership program, where you can become a member and you're associated to that union or that club, and that gets you in at a lesser fee. But you know, it's not as simple as that. We have to put parameters and all that, and how long a person can stay in that category. And as I said at the beginning, it's the ideal role would be to have that person become a member of a golf club. The reality is, if we don't have members, the golf clubs are going to close. If your golf clubs close, we won't have venues, we won't have facilities, and that's the reality of it.
And it's quite an evolving space, because I know in recent years people talk about having their business meetings on a golf course. It just seems like the better environment, and I'm sure some of your new registered members might come from that group of people. That
quite possibly,
yeah. So in terms of development, what kind of efforts are we seeing from Western Province?
Look, again, we've got a lot of young junior development programs, different golf clubs throughout all our areas, from Strand to Durbanville to Clovelly, all those sort of places, where we encourage junior golfers to come and join into those programs. This really is the early stages of getting to learn the game. And you know, for us, it's trying to get your child to take to the game. You know, they've got to have their love for the game, and it is unfortunately it is a time-consuming sport. It's going to take you 4 hours or 5 hours to play. So it's almost like we encourage families to play, because then you're not having one person of the family leaving the others, sort of thing. But we are trying and constantly looking at encouraging juniors to play and get into development programs. We're constantly looking at how we can make it cheaper for them. We as Western Province have dropped all affiliation fees for junior golfers to try and make it cheaper. Obviously it's not the juniors paying, it's the parents paying. If you've got 3 children, we're trying to make it as cheap as possible for them to play.
Robert, what would you say is the appeal of the sport?
I think golf as a whole, it's a life sport. So you learn a lot of things about life, patience, honesty, integrity. All those attributes come with golf, and the sport teaches you those attributes. When you start as a youngster, it's quite a catchy sport, but playing with older people, it does tend to teach you a lot about obviously manners and all that on and off the golf course. It teaches you a lot of life skills that you can use off the golf course, and I think that's again more of our focus towards development and juniors is to teach them life skills and how to use them on and off the golf course as such.
At what age would you recommend the youngsters to take up the sport?
It just depends. I started when I was 13. You can start earlier if you want. Again, it just when it clicks for you, it'll be a catch. So you can really start whenever you feel comfortable to, but the earlier the better, because that's when you're going to learn the most when you're young.
Now, in terms of the development efforts for those who don't have the equipment yet, do your programs offer second-hand equipment that people can use to try out for the first time?
Also very difficult. Again, we constantly look at that. We try to approach equipment companies to see if they can help us with almost old style, old model equipment that they can get rid of. It is a challenge. I won't lie to you. It's a constant challenge in how you can develop players who don't have the equipment to try and lend them equipment. It's something that we constantly look at.
Yeah, and I suppose people also don't replace the equipment until it needs replacing, so it probably makes it more difficult.
Again, as I said earlier, some people can afford to do that, and they kind of blame their tools more, so they
can buy the latest.
They buy a new one hoping that'll be their fix, but that's not the answer. But it is generally, and that's what I'm saying, if you get into the sport and you have the basics that you need as far as your equipment is concerned, you don't really need to change it. Not until you get to say a specific level that you're going to get really competitive, then you might want to change it. But somebody developing, getting into the game, you want to get something that works for you, that you can handle, not too heavy, and you enjoy when you stand over it and look at it.
So, Robert, what is some of the events that one can look forward to in your calendar?
Upcoming this weekend, we've got the Rondebosch Open. That's 36 holes stroke play at Rondebosch. And then at the end of the month, we have got the King David Mowbray Open, along with a seniors event next week, Thursday, out at the Strand. And then we finish off the seniors on the 14th of December at Durbanville Golf Club. And then we host our end of year basic finals. It's called the Premier Amateur Tour Finals, which is on the 3rd of December. That's only 18 holes. That's at Belleville Golf Club.
How would it benefit any would-be sponsors watching right now to support your sport in overcoming your challenges and also making the national tournaments more accessible to the golfers that can go?
Look, again, we give sponsors exposure on our Facebook page, on our website page, at the tournaments. And also depending on what sort of age group they might come, whether they come in as a blanket sponsor for the whole union as such, or just an age group sponsor. But there's always also employment opportunities. Bearing in mind the Premier, the younger guys might be leaving school, they're looking for jobs, they could end up working at that company that sponsors the event. And that goes same into, say, the mid-amateur event. You could have a financial institution sponsoring the seniors, and they might end up investing the money in that financial event. So there are different spin-offs as to how you can see it. You can socialize with the golfers, you get to play with the golfers, we would invite you to play in tournaments. They in turn invite some of our better players to go and play with their corporate clients. Might be something. I know that a lot of corporate golfers or members in the corporate world like to play golf. They don't get the opportunity to play as much as they'd like to, and sometimes it's really pleasant for them to be able to play with better golfers. So we would always make ourselves available to, say, a company come and say, would you mind sending your latest Premier provincial side to come and play in our corporate golf day with us. So there are different spin-offs for both. We'd obviously try and make it as beneficial to them as it is to us. I mean, obviously we would welcome any financial benefit, But I understand that in return they would need something for that, and obviously we always try and accommodate
Well,
as
with
best we can.
15,000 registered players, you certainly
Sure,
can offer
sure.
exposure.
Yeah. I mean, we are allowed to do branding on our clothing and things like that for provincial tournaments, and a lot of it is branding. I mean, branding goes out to all of our tournaments. So that's what it is. And as I say, social media nowadays just booms, or the amounts of hits you have on Facebook. So we'd always put your branding out there.
Okay, excellent. So you mentioned Facebook as one avenue that people can use to get in touch with you. If they want to register for upcoming leagues or your new season, is that still the space they can use?
So no, majority of our entries and order of merits are all on our website, which is www.westernprovincegolf.co.za. You can access obviously all the news, all our fixtures, tournaments results, league results, league fixtures, anything to do with us would be on that website, along with player profiles, rankings, all that stuff.
All right. Well, thank you, Robert and Tony, for
Thank
sharing
you.
your sport with you and with us. And
Pleasure.
we wish you all the best with your upcoming tournaments and plans.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, guys, that's it from golf. So here's a sport for you. If you are not registered for a sport yet and you love the wide open spaces and spending hours on beautiful plots of land, then this is a sport that might be perfect for you, and you can get them on their Facebook page and their website. After the break, we'll be joined by another sport, so please stay tuned for that.